Good morning, everyone. Toolman Tim here. Welcome back to the workshop where we build business, create community, find freedom, and share success. It's another wonderful Saturday morning, and it's time for my favorite series of the week, the Weekend Workshop. And this week, as always, I've got something good for you. This week is going to be a little fun, but a learning experience as well. This week I'm going to take you through the 5 heaviest items that we've ever moved in my handyman business and the lessons and failures that we've had and found during that time. So hang in there, I'll be right back. Alright guys, real quick, if this is your first time here and you enjoy this video, hit that subscribe button please. I would very much appreciate it. And if you want to know more about me, go to toolmantim.co and find my social media links, all my content schedule there, and most importantly, check out the shop where I have recommendations of over 100 products that are solutions to problems that you'll face. I get asked questions all the time. I got paint on my vinyl siding, how do I remove it? I need to hang a heavy picture on a wall, but I can't drill a hole. What do I use to anchor it? I got all kinds of suggestions there that point you to the Amazon links, and if you end up picking something up like that, you support the channel. So thanks, guys. Alright, so this is a fun one. This is one I've been mulling around for quite some time, but I wanted to make sure that it was valuable to you, not just entertaining. So, in my handyman business, All Seasons Maintenance up here in Alberta, we do a lot of everything. I always joke, no job too small is what's on the side of my truck, but sometimes it's no job too big either. And we get called quite often for some really odd items. So I've been keeping a mental list and then eventually a list on my phone of some of the biggest and heaviest items that we've ever had to move for a customer or remove for a customer and the lessons we learned through it. So hopefully you might get a chuckle on my expense, but you may also learn something. So the very first one, and I'm not sure if this was the heaviest one, but it must have been pretty damn close. And it was a full-size professional snooker table. So the customer sent me a message and said, hey, can you remove pool tables? And I thought, yeah, I can do that. Of course we can, right? Figured we'd pick it up, move it. I didn't know they wanted us to haul it at the landfill at first, but we found out soon enough that they did. And I always request pictures, do my due diligence, and when they did, it looked to me in the picture like a normal, everyday pool table. And she said, but it's kind of heavy, it's slate top. And I thought, okay, well, I've moved slate top pool tables before. Oh boy, not this one. I never took the measurements, but it was the full-size snooker table. It was at least 10 feet long and I think 5 feet wide. It was big. It took up their whole basement. They had a nice area down there to use it with, but it was old, needed to get rid of. I don't know the whole story. I just know that it needed to be gone. And as soon as we got there, and I could barely, with all my strength, I could barely even push the snooker table a little bit to the side on the floor, let alone even try to lift it. So I thought, well, what do we do? So we started stripping the felt off, taking the bumpers off, and taking a look at this. And I thought, well, what's the lesson here? Break it down into manageable bite-sized pieces. Not that you want to bite onto this. But when I opened that up, that slate was well over 1.5 inches thick, closer to 2 inches thick. I mean, it was massive. And the entire thing, if you've never taken apart an old slate top pool table, came in 5 sections of slate. I thought, okay, good, we're winning here. So let's take them apart. We'll lift each piece out, which was 5 feet high and 2 feet wide, I believe is how it worked. And we'll get one of those and we'll get it onto our heavy-duty furniture cart. And then one of us will go up and the other one will start from the bottom and we'll just work our way up the stairs. Yeah, that didn't happen. First off, if it's a light item, you can handle 5 feet on a furniture cart. If it's a heavy item that you can barely lift, you can't handle 5 feet on a furniture cart. So that was the first problem. The second problem was it was too damn heavy even still. So it was well over 300 pounds for that one piece of slate. So we're back to the drawing board, and I thought, what are we going to do? We are going to have to break these apart. So I went up and I talked to the customer. I said, if I put a tarp down and I clean up oh yeah, no problem. She said, you do whatever you need to do to get rid of that. Okay, no problem. So off I went back to the house and I got or back here to the shop and got I don't know, it was a 5 or 6 pound splitting maul. It's heavy. And so we took that 5-foot piece of slate and we leaned it up against the old table and whack, And you know what? I'll be damned, I hit it as hard as I could and it didn't break the first time. It probably took a good 10 or 12 whacks to start cracking it, and it was a lot. And you had to stand back because you didn't want it to hit your feet, because if it did, it'd probably take a toe off. So we eventually got to break them down into half pieces, which were still a couple 100 pounds. So we would take turns. One person would go up, because the hardest part is going up backwards, holding onto the cart. Get them upstairs, get them onto the truck, and we ended up getting it all loaded on, and it was a load for the truck. Like, it was unreal. Had to go back downstairs, sweep everything up, vacuum everything up, and then use a wet mop because there was slate dust absolutely everywhere. So what did I learn from this one? Number one, ask for lots of pictures. Ask more questions than you think. So if you're pricing something based on pictures, because a job like this, you'd love to go to every one of them and look at them, but it just takes a lot of time to go and quote. So when you ask for pictures, ask for angled pictures. Ask for dimensions too. Dimensions are really important, because it might look like a little 4x6 or 4x7 wood pool table in the picture, but when you get there and it's a 5x10, 2-inch thick slate snooker table, and to be absolutely fair, I was sad to tear it apart. But, so ask all the questions ahead of time. Bring the gear with you that you even maybe remotely might think you need, and break it down into manageable pieces. So I thought we'd be lucky enough to be able to just take the 2-foot pieces and take them upstairs, but we had to break them down again. So that was the first one. All right, item number 2 is a great big ice freezer, like those really big ones that you see at gas stations that have 2 swing back windows that you can pull your ice out of. But this is for a water company that makes bagged ice all the time. This thing was massive. Now, they were moving their business just around the block, so I don't know, 4 or 5 buildings down from where the other one was. And we had to move some smaller ice makers, like hotel style ones. We were able to get those in, get a cart under them, strap them down, roll them on, get them on the truck, and take them up. So that worked really well. But this bugger, number one, was too tall to put it on wheels. Like, even those little tiny 2-inch, 4-inch wheels that you'd put under with a little dolly cart and push it out the door, it was that big. It was too heavy that the 2 of us couldn't pick it up, even with forearm forklift straps. So we were stuck with pushing it to the door and then out the door. So originally, it was big enough, they had a skid steer or forklift. We had to get it just to the road, and they were going to come and pick it up. Now, again, think outside the box. So we get there, and this is middle of February. Everything is froze solid. And around here, they can't keep the roads clear because it freezes too hard. So they just scrape it down, and you get a nice hard layer of sticky ice on top. So anyway, picture this. They had 2 front swinging doors where it could go out of, and a small slope down to the main road. And we thought about it. I thought about it for a day, and I don't know what to do. So eventually we found a couple old sheets of plywood. We managed to push the ice machine out the door, get it onto the plywood, which was sitting onto nice packed snow, and we were able to slide it down to the road. So that was the first thing. And when we got it to the road, I wouldn't say it was a zero friction surface, but it was damn close. So I'm like, well, let's just check it out, because it was flat. It didn't have feet, which was a lifesaver for us. So we give it a little bit of a push. I wish we'd had video of this, but I don't. I think I got some pictures somewhere. But we give it a little push on the ground, and the thing, all you had to do was just kind of lean on it, and it would slide for you. I was like, oh, this is awesome. So we literally, something they would have normally taken a forklift, the 2 of us just got behind it and just casually pushed it up the road, and then we get it to where it's going, and there's another little incline. We pushed it up the driveway because it was full of ice, and we got it right to the back door of their business. So saved them a ton of money. And again, we thought outside the box. We didn't have any big gear because we're a small company. We didn't have the room to get wheelie carts under it, so we had to just push it gently on the carpet and then get it out the door onto plywood and then let gravity do the rest. So sometimes you just got to think outside the box, come up with some really cool ideas of what'll work, and sometimes you got to fall flat on your face. It's absolutely honest. But in that case, it really worked for us. All right, item number 3 was an old-timey hot water boiler that was in the basement. It was about a 40-gallon, looks like your everyday standard hot water tank, but it's not made out of the thin spray foam and aluminum combination that the new ones are. This thing was a beast. It ended up weighing, we had it weighed at the landfill afterwards, 390 pounds, which for 2 guys to manhandle is a lot of weight. We were able to handle it, but this was the very first time we'd ever moved anything heavy. I got a call from a local guy, and he's like, hey, don't know if you can handle this, but I've got an old boiler down in the basement. A plumbing company from out of town was supposed to remove it a year ago. They can't figure out a way to get it out of the basement. Would you come and do it? And then I'm just going to send your bill. I'll pay you and send your bill to the plumbing company. I thought, yeah, sure, why not? That would be awesome. I'd love to try. So we show up, and it's in the basement, of course, because that's where boilers tend to be. And this sucker is heavy. Now, when you move it around, there is a ton of old sediment and debris inside there. So in the back of my head, I thought, worst case scenario, we can go get a grinder or a recip saw. We can cut the bugger in half, and we can manage it that way. I brought the only furniture cart I had, which is the Costco brand aluminum one at the time. And it was nice, but it would be barely up to the task of that, like to the point where I would have been nervous that we would have bent it. Now, it has a really nice handle. It's really long, so it makes it easy for going up and down stairs, but I don't think we could have managed. So when we get there, the homeowner's like, oh, hey, listen, me and my son actually bought a great big hand cart from Canadian Tire, and it's a nice beast. It looks like it should work. Do you guys want to use it? I don't usually like to use customers' materials or tools, but in this case, I thought maybe we better. It had a nice wide lip, heavy duty. It was rated for over 400 pounds. Now, number two, if you guys don't know this hack, once you put something, if you have one of those, I'm sure you've seen them big furniture carts that have ratchet straps built into them. Well, we don't have one of them. We just use a furniture cart and a ratchet strap. Click it on the back, put it around, snap it down in the back. Now, one thing you make sure the buckle is in the very back. Because if you leave it on the side and you got a tight squeeze and you get to the very top of the stairs with a 400-pound boiler on, and you all of a sudden realize you can't fit through because you put the strap on the side and you got to loosen it and hold it there and hope it doesn't kill you. Yeah. So, lesson learned. Make sure when you're using a ratchet strap combined with a dolly cart that you put the buckle in the back so it doesn't rub on the doors. Anyway, furniture cart didn't have any air in the tires, so we had to find a compressor, put air in the tires, and then we started. And another lesson that I have learned real quickly when moving heavy things is plan your exit route or your route very carefully ahead of time and communicate. So we get it on there, and it has these nice handles. First step, we go up, and my helper goes to pull, and those rubber grips come right off. So now they're not even stuck to the, they're nice, they work good for what they are, but to try to pull up on them doesn't happen. So we got to glue them into place. But we knew we were going to go up the stairs. I'd already brought the truck into the back deck. I got it in as tight as I could so that we wouldn't have to lift it a quarter of an inch further than we had to. And we go up one step, and then we're like, okay, 1, 2, 3, lift. 1, 2, 3, lift. I know it sounds foolish, but if you're both on the same page and you're both exerting force at the exact same time, number one, it makes the job easier, and number two, both of you are less likely to get injured. And it got to the point when it was high enough, I was able to get under it and push up with my shoulder, which was a huge help. So then we get it up the stairs, had to go through the kitchen, which made me real nervous, didn't want to hurt the floor, and then out onto the deck. We just rolled it onto the truck. Two of us pushed it on just enough for the tailgate, and then when we got to the dump, we were able to just roll it right off. I had him weigh it, and it was 390 pounds, which was pretty cool. So like I said, plan your route, communicate while you're at it, and make sure your gear's up to the task. And if it isn't, go buy some before you try to do a job that you can't handle. I mean, I was new at this, didn't know, but oh boy, that was, yeah, you definitely could have strained something doing that, I can tell you. All right, number 4, this is the most recent item on the list, and it was the biggest frigging filing cabinet that I have ever dealt with. And we moved a local professional office building. They've just moved from one block to another, and they said, we got a lot of stuff for you. We need you to move it. Can you move it? And I thought, well, sure. And we get there, and they were 6 feet high and 4 feet wide and completely full of file folders. Now, the first thing I should have done, and I didn't speak up and say, is you need to unload this. We're not moving it loaded. Because, anyway, yeah, I should have. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't. I thought we could handle it. Anyway, this was my very first heavy moving job with my new employee. So I knew it was going to be a bit of a chore. It was also the first heavy moving job that I have done since I lost 100 pounds. And the one benefit of having a little extra weight on you is you have a little extra ballast to push against things. And I got that, I don't even know how much it weighed. It must have been over 400 pounds. I got that on there. I leaned back. I stepped onto the furniture cart and I went whoop, and it lifted me right up. First time in my life that I've ever had something on a furniture cart that's lifted me. Made me take pause for a minute. We were able to get it. We used the ratchet strap or the forearm forklifts. If you don't have those forearm forklift straps, you need to get them. They're awesome. Lift it up, get it out the door just ever so slightly. I mean, it was a chore. Got it onto my little tiny utility trailer that is way underweighted for the task. Got it over to the new professional building. Got it in the door, and that is about as far as we were going to make it. My guy, he's good, but he just doesn't know how strong he is yet. And anyway, this ended up being a dentist's office. We were moving things in, and there was a guy there whose job was to install the new dental equipment. And he come along and he's like, oh, he says, well, I'm a professional deadlifter. Would you like some help? Normally I don't like to take help because I get hired to do something, but in this case we were in over our head and we needed help. So everybody gets in over their head sometimes. So if you want to hear about it, anyway, he come along, he's like, yeah, I got these. So he brought these pry bars with these little slidey pads that will slide on brand new floor, and him and I were able to muscle it with those forearm forklift straps and carry it into place. It was a chore. We almost dropped it. It almost fell on me once. My back hurt for like 2 weeks later. It still hurts a little bit sometime at night. I can feel it right there. So there was a few things I could have done. But number one, I could have turned that job down because I didn't have the equipment to do it. But I didn't want, it was a good job and I didn't want to let them down because they're friends of mine and I know what we're doing. And that was number one. And number two, I should have insisted that they unloaded all the files beforehand. Because by the time the filing cabinet got to the new location, all the files inside the cabinet were everywhere, anywhere, and they had to resort them. So if we'd just taken them out and put them in nice file boxes and carried them over by hand. So there's always more than one way to skin a cat. And if we'd have taken it down and broke that down into manageable bite-sized pieces, then we could have easily got the filing cabinet into place. Then they could have put the filing folders back in and wouldn't have lost any time for them being disorganized. So sometimes don't let your pride get in the way. And sometimes things change, like my weight changed. So it was that much harder to lift against heavy things. I had a new guy with me who wasn't fully trained on this kind of stuff. So that kind of stuff changes. So remember, what's changed since the last time you did a job like this, and what can I do to negate some of those facts? So you know what I did after that? I went to Princess Auto and I bought a metric shit ton of moving gear for heavier stuff. So I bought one of those big carts with the rolly wheels on it. I bought 4 tri-wheeled casters. I bought some moving blankets. I got everything I could think of to make it easier for the next job. And that's part of being a business owner, is investing in your company. And if you're a solopreneur like I am, you know, it's fun to buy tools, but they're there to save your back, literally, sometimes. So that was number 4. And number 5, and this was back, you know, it's cast iron bathtubs. And this was back when I was very first, even before I started doing this full time. I was doing it part-time working at the hardware store. And I did some renovations. I actually still work for this couple. I'm now their property manager for all their properties. And we started doing some renovations. And a couple of times early on, we had old cast iron tubs we had to get rid of. And I say we, and I really mean just me, because I was working by myself. And there's no way one person can lift and remove a cast iron tub from a basement, or actually the house we live in now, I did both. The basement and the upstairs, I had to get rid of both the cast iron tubs. And I thought, how in the hell am I going to do this? So onto YouTube I went. Now you guys may know this, I did not know this, but a really well-placed blow from a split and maul or a heavy-duty sledgehammer will actually crack apart a cast iron tub. Now, it's not an easy job, so wear impact-rated gloves that'll help deaden the vibration, wear goggles, and wear ear protection, because in an enclosed bathroom area, you can absolutely wreck your ears real quick clanging on cast iron. So again, this is back to breaking down problems into manageable size pieces. And in this instance, it was literally breaking it down into manageable bite-sized, don't bite the cast iron, pieces. So I was probably a solid 2 hours smacking and breaking, and you just work your way back and get it into small pieces, honestly about that big. And then put them into, I used cardboard boxes. Today I would use my milk crates because they're a lot sturdier. They got handles to carry them on. And then just don't overweigh them. You know, put 40 pounds worth into a milk carton and then carry it upstairs and dump it into your box trailer. And then do it again and do it again and then sweep it up, vacuum it up, and you're done. So instead of having to figure out a way to, number one, remove that from the wall, and number two, finding 3 or 4 strong people that could haul it up the stairs, just break it down. Find a way. There's always a way. There's usually a tool that'll do it. And sometimes it's worth, even if you just break even on a job, to me, it's worth using the money you made from that job to buy a new tool that you can use the next time. Now, I already had my sledgehammer, and I'm really proud of that one. I like that one. Tim-proof with a nice fiberglass handle. But it did the trick. Broke it down, took it upstairs, out the truck, never had to deal with it again. So, I hope you guys got entertained from some of the heavy stuff that I've had to lift over the years. I thought you might enjoy hearing some of that. But I also hope that maybe you learned a lesson or two and might be able to save your back, because like I said, we only have one of them and we need to be really, really careful. And maybe if you guys are in this kind of business, or if you've just in your personal life ended up sharing or removing really heavy items and you had some really cool hacks or something you want to share, throw them in the comments below, because I love seeing the conversation. I love interacting with you guys, and I love sharing it with everyone else across the platforms. So that's it for me, guys. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to share it. If it gave you value and some benefit, share it to your social platform of choice. And that's it for me, guys. So as always, stay happy, stay healthy, and have a great week.